Hey everyone, Amali Cabral here from Common Sense Inc. You can find us at www.cslawinfo.us. It's www.cslawinfo.us. Today's information package is the right to travel, which is another favorite of mine and another great item of ours at Common Sense Inc. You can find an example of it at the Common Sense Inc. website. And basically, it shows you how to start the process of obtaining your freedom of moving about without the fictitious card carrying license. Now, what's a license? If you look at anything that's licensed today, it's usually attached to some sort of contracting or contractor. So, if most people think in order to have a really good painter or carpenter or whatever, they have to have a license. And some states recommend it. So the point that I'm making is these when you have a license, when you're entering into a license, you're entering into a contract. Same with the Department of Motor Vehicle or whatever it's called in your state, the division that handles the licensing, so you can quote unquote travel in your personal conveyance or travel in your automobile. Notice how I didn't use car or drive in your vehicle or any of this. Remember, we're dealing with paper people, or people that love to push paper as reality, okay? So they use a lot of semantics. So this is a thing where you actually have to start switching up the way you think and then eventually the way you speak. Because if you still talk like, well, I'm going to go out and drive my car down to the store, or officer, what did I do? I was just driving along in my car to go see my girlfriend. Now you're entering again, like I've spoken in other information packages, you're allowing their authority through acknowledging you're wrong by breaking their jurisdiction. Okay? So what I say is I travel my personal conveyance or I travel my automobile just to be safe. And this goes along with case law. Once you obtain this information package, you'll see uh, more clearly what I'm saying with that. Um, so what is a right to travel ID that we produce? It's basically a picture. It never expires, obviously, until you expire physically. So you don't have to renew it. There's no renewal fees with that. It just gives your name, the state that you're from, your age, your eye color, your picture, and then you can have it notarized. And then as a bonus, we attach about a page. I believe it's like a page or a page and a half of case law that you could use for confidence when you're pulled over. And I'll do another section on what to do when you get pulled over. But for now, I just want to focus on this right to travel because it's not widely known still. It's real simple. Just like most things that are dealt with in common law, they use common sense. So if we're able to travel on our legs from A to B, then you should be able to travel in a car. Okay, because think about it. Just because I carry a license doesn't mean I don't know how to operate a car, or it reduces the accidents that happen in cars. So it can't be, we don't need licenses because of the safety issue. So it must be something else. It's because we enter into a contract with the state of whatever state you're in. So for instance, if I'm living in the state of Texas, when I go down to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and give them some form of ID, my social security, my birth certificate, all these have numbers, all these signify contracts, licenses, right, with the state. They'll issue me a card. Now, get this. You'll notice that you will eventually have to break this contract with them. But they will never break the contract with you. They'll only suspend it. So if you notice, people get caught all the time without driving without an insurance, driving without registration, driving without license plates, all these things. And what do the courts do? They suspend your license. Because if they were to end it by breaking the contract with you, they couldn't put any restoration fees on it. And the restoration fees, I know out in New Jersey, are $750 a year. So they're nice little chunks of change they're ripping off from you. So if you're wondering, that's why they never break a contract with you. What I recommend is you pay up all your fines and fees because that's the only way you're going to be able to break it clean and clear, and then go down there and hand in your license. They ask why you're doing it. You say, "Oh, I have no need for it anymore." That's it. And then you use the right to travel. And I'll go into that more after I read from from this package here briefly to give you an excerpt about what I'm talking about. So the section I'm going to read from the right to travel information package is subjects first sovereigns. Back to what the previous paragraph was saying is that when you look at your bill's statements because you are paying twice through your credit with the United States Treasury in their birth certificate, your job that keeps most of your free time occupied, and many other things that cause stress and frustration constantly, we are now willing to pay with an instrument called the dollar bill in order to alleviate the pain. A lot of us do not like walking miles, let alone across town. It makes us feel tired, and it takes time, which we do not have much of anymore. Or so we have been conditioned to believe. Then a solution comes in front of your eyes. I could save you time and energy if you follow my system. And the license is born. Yes, it is really that simple. Because when we look back and study history concerning means of travel using animals, one was not required to have a piece of paper with a drawn picture of self on it to travel, or even drive that horse across town. Again, only slaves were required to have passes signed by their masters in order to move about, even a couple of steps off the plantation. And then they still did not have to pay for it because many did not get any severance for the work they performed. The question often raised by ignorance is, well, what about the safety of one who operates an automobile without a license? And my answer to that is show me where riding a horse was any safer than traveling in an automobile. Matter of fact, it is more dangerous to be on top of a live, unpredictable animal than it is to turn the key and start an engine and travel. If there are any auto mechanics out there who are reading this, they can tell you that the calibration needed for your timing belt has to be precise to even begin the process of starting the motor. What I mean is the consistency of operating your automobile is so automatic that most people today start their gas guzzlers without the slightest thought. Here is the truth. Here is why you believe you must own a card with your picture on it signed by your master, whichever state or such governor, because you are a debt slave. Not blaming your parents because this information that I am sharing with you today was not prevalent like it is now, so they were under the impression that it was for their benefit to pay the state for an act that is inherently yours to freely exercise. The only people who are required to have a license is someone who does business on the public roadways. This includes the highways as well. Therefore, truck drivers, taxi drivers, and even pizza delivery boys would need one because they are making money like any other licensed individual. Contractors who paint our homes, teach our children, move furniture, etc. 18 U.S. Code 31-6 states motor vehicle. The term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways, in the transportation of passengers, passengers and property, or property or cargo. Plain and simple. If you are going to a girlfriend's, your grandmother's, or even to your place of employment, according to federal law, you do not need a license to travel, only for making money on the road. Some may look at the previous definition and say, well, it is only giving us the meaning for a motor vehicle, but says nothing about needing a license to operate one. This is where we will use common sense. Where do you hear the word license used pertaining to travel? Right, when driving in your motor car or riding in your motor vehicle, but you do not hear anyone using a license to travel in their personal conveyance or automobile, and you surely do not see policy enforcers, police, or highwaymen, state troopers, pulling over people on bicycles requesting proof of license. According to black laws, A license means, in the law of contracts, a permission accorded by a competent authority conferring the right to do some act which without such authorization would be illegal, or would be a trespass or tort. State versus Hip. Also, we see that it is a contract. This is why I made reference to contractors entering into a contract with the state of so and so. Interesting, right? With most contracts, there are penalties for not paying on time, like surcharges. We also see that without a competent authority, we would have no authorization to travel. Does this make sense to you? Me either. Okay, so we need a license from the state in order to travel legally. Here's a further definition from the law book. Also, the written evidence of authority so accorded. It is distinguished from an easement, which implies an interest in the land to be affected, and a lease. Remember lease, or right to take the profits of land. I'd really like you to pay attention to the underlined word lease. This pertains to property, whether it is your motor vehicle or land. When you sign a contract, meaning apply for license at your local motor vehicle center, you are forfeiting your right to travel and now allowing the state of so-and-so to lease your property back to you. I'm going to read that again from the top. According to black laws, it goes on to define what the law says about a license. Says also the written evidence of authority so accorded. It is distinguished from an easement, which implies an interest in the land to be affected, and a lease, or right to take the profits of land. So pay attention to the underlined word lease again. This pertains to property, our property, your property, whether it is your motor vehicle or your land. When you sign a contract or apply for a license at your local motor vehicle center, you are forfeiting your right to travel and now allowing the state of so-and-so to lease your property back to you. This should make you furious by now. So in essence, you do all the hard work and still have to pay someone else, whether in license surcharges, registrations, license plates, and on and on and on and on and on. The slavery persists into the future. I hope by now you are starting to get the point of this whole package. I would like to now go into, is it constitutional for us to travel freely among others, no matter what means we use for travel? So as you can see, briefly here, I shared that in fact a license is basically a contract that we make with the state. And what it does is the state then leases whatever we acquire, and it's not too different from a mortgage on a house or anything else that we deal with monetarily right now. A lot of the property that we have, we really don't own because of these fictitious contracts we keep making with the state. So, if you go to the website, you read a little bit more, you get this package, you'll learn all about how to not only show others what you learn and how they could break this paradigm that they have us under, that we need to obtain this card in order to travel. And you'll also learn how to do that, how to do it by breaking your contract with the state. That's all for now. And as always, research, 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 and be well.